Alright, my Tabor City home here. And it is the 7th of May today. And we are working on mums. And in the South, mums are like the official southern flower of fall. No question about it. But why would we be worried about the official southern flower of fall in the month of May? Well, because we have work to do. We have a lot of mums here on this property. And I came outside this morning to check the garden, see what kind of progress we have, what's growing, what's not growing. Really proud of the poppies over there. Struggled forever to get poppies to grow. And finally have a couple of them over there growing. And the canna lilies are starting to come up, and we just have about 2 dozen dahlias growing in here. This year I managed to get lupines to grow from seed. That's a type of geranium that worked to get the stuff planted, to get it to come up. And then that's a marigold, believe it or not, and it's supposed to be a perennial marigold. So we'll see how that looks when it finally comes up and flowers for us. The only other one I've got over there is that I'm really proud of is a euphorbia that I'm growing that I grew from seed. So I'm not the best seed gardener, and I have absolute terrible, like the absolute worst luck when it comes to bare root plants. There are plants that I've seen online that I was gonna order, and when I saw that they shipped them bare root, I just shied away from them because I don't know what it is. I have no luck with bare root. So, anyways, back to the mums. So here we have mums that, if you look down in here, you can see these mums are actually starting to try to bud out and get flowers on them. And that's not what we want. And if you look at the structure of this mum, you'll see that, it's bushy here, and then all of a sudden we have plenty of growth just shooting straight up. And that has to do with the amount of water we've gotten recently, and the amount of sunlight that now we have, because we're increasing our sunlight. Well, we want a garden that these mums, because if you can see them, they're planted in a row down here. We want a garden that this fall, these mums are like a hedge. They're just solid mums all along the front of the garden border. And in order to get that, we have to make them bush out. They have to get bushy. So to do that, we have to keep trimming them down. And every time we trim them down, everywhere we trim them down, they're gonna bush off. So basically, we're telling these mums, no, you're not coming any taller. So the mum's gonna want to get bigger. So as we tell it, you're not getting any taller, it'll say, well, if I can't get taller, I'll get wider. And it'll bush out. Now, a couple funny things about mums. A mum will act like it doesn't really, appreciate being trimmed like this to a certain degree. But every time you do it, it'll take a week or two, and then all of a sudden it'll surprise you like it did me this morning. You'll come out and find that it is just thrown on a bunch of growth. Now, the other thing about mums is when you cut off a new branch like this, you can actually, and there's some people who do this with rooting hormone. I don't use rooting hormone, but you can actually take this mum and just strip off all these leaves. Be careful that you're not, bending the plant too much and actually damaging the main stem of the plant. But you can actually take all these leaves off, and then if you'll see right here, there's a little baby leaf. You can take that leaf off there and come just below this and cut. Now you have this little plant, and if you take that little plant and you make you a hole in the dirt and you stick that little plant in there, give it a good cover, you have a better than average chance that is going to grow into its own mum. And when you come through here and cut these mums, you end up with just tons and tons of these things that you can ultimately end up making your own mums. And so if you're a patient person, which when it comes to my grass right now, I'm very impatient. But if you're a patient person, then you can actually buy 1 or 2 mums at the store, and then next year come through and trim these suckers like this, and you can end up with 30-40 mums by the end of the year. Now again, you know, care and feeding. Once you take on this task, you're taking on a lot of responsibility to keep up with them. But you can actually end up with a tremendous number of mums as you go through here. So as you can see, we are not getting bogged down in the prettiness of all this right at the moment, because our job today is just to cut these things down and just give them a signal that nope, we're not going to bud yet. We're definitely not putting on any flowers yet. This right here is actually, I was showing my daughter how to grow mums, and this right here is actually 3 pieces that we just cut off, made a hole in the ground, stuck them in there. We did that back in the beginning of April, and so is this one here. And if you can see, this one here has grown so well, it's actually trying to throw on a flower. So chrysanthemums want to live. I mean, they are one of the hardiest plants I've ever seen. They try their best. Look at this weed right here. They try their absolute level best to survive anything you can throw at them, short of hitting them with Roundup or just, you know, putting them in the perfectly wrong spot. A chrysanthemum's gonna survive. That thing's gonna go. This year, if you go to one of these stores in the fall and you buy a chrysanthemum, now I'm gonna show you this one here. This chrysanthemum has actually been shaded out by this bush, and look at the part that's been shaded. Look how much growth this thing's thrown on. See, this is what I mean by a chrysanthemum's gonna survive, because half of this plant that's in the shade of this coreopsis is absolutely adapting to its situation, and it's thrown on a tremendous amount of growth trying to overcome that shade. So mums will adapt better than most plants to what's going on in their environment. So if you'll just come out here and shape them, and again, I mean, I'm not being particular. I'm just trying to send signals to the plant that you are not going to grow any buds at this point in time. Then you'll be surprised what you end up with. And mum are one of those bang for the buck plants. You can come through here and buy you 1 or 2 and get these things, make you some cuttings off of them. You can either root them straight in the dirt or put them in pots. I'll be honest with you, the whole pots thing for me isn't the best way to go, because I get busy with other projects and I forget to water them, and then they don't survive. And at least in the ground, I think they got a fighting chance that they'll get watered by our Heavenly Father. So, you know. So, let's see here. Anyways, so here's what we're doing. As you can see, it's taking just a couple of minutes out of the day to go through here, trim down these mums, make sure they're in order, so that this fall we have a really nice showing of mums. So, if you get mums like this one I almost moved this year because it's kind of spreading out, and you can see where it's actually not one plant anymore. This is a conglomeration of about 15-20 plants at this point, but I determined to leave it here. Couple other little notes. This mum here is one that I just left here, that I believe is one of the ones I just stuck in the dirt last year. Couple of things to note about these. You can see that the ones that are in shade, because this area of the garden is in shade, are way lighter. They'll progress a lot slower. If you have an area of your yard that just gets an absolute just ton of sunlight, and you want to know something you can put out there that's going to withstand that harsh sunlight, chrysanthemums are it. And if you want to have a big bunch of showy chrysanthemums in the fall, you have to put a little bit of work in throughout the summer. This being May 7th, we will probably come out here and cut them again. They'll probably need cut again somewhere around June 15th, and then July 15th, and then August 15th, and then maybe even September 15th, depending on how hot our summer is. If it's really hot and it is just dry and hot and, you know, something that you think a cactus would like, your mums are gonna love it. They'll go to town. So yeah, mums, there you go. This is the time of year that when you grow them, God, look how much that thing really did try to adapt to that plant being over top of it and grow all that growth just to get some sunlight. So go ahead and trim your mums now, and I promise you, every time you trim them, let them get just a little bit taller, and they'll keep bushing and bushing and bushing. And sooner or later, like in this area, as we can see these spaces that are in between them, sooner or later that'll end up being one consistent hedge of mums. And when I get done doing this stuff in the garden today, I'm going to get the blower out and blow all that trash out of there. Can't leave the mum leaves laying at the base of the plant. They'll start rotting, and then they'll actually get disease on the plant themselves. So you got to clear that up. This was the last little late iris. All the other ones were back about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. But yeah, it's time to trim them mums. All right, my Tabor City home to you. God bless. Get out there and trim your mums. Work in the garden. Use your hands. America's not a disposable nation. Have a great day.